My name is Jesse Harward, and I know we are recording this for those that aren't able to make it. I'm the Vice President of Customer Service, and I've been heading up our project for the last year and a half of how do we improve our bid process for y'all. And I think everybody here knows, as well as the pain that sometimes comes. You can go to that very next slide, Matt. The pain that sometimes comes when you get to the property and you see something like this, right? Where the grass is thick or the grass is overgrown. You know you're going to have to mow it 2 or 3 times or collect the clippings, and it's just not paying enough money for that. And our current process is to call in, request additional funds. We've worked to make that better over time, but we still know it's not optimal. But that's why I'm here today, is to present, and if you go to that next slide, Matt, a new way to request additional funds that we're going to be launching in just about a week and a half. And that is being able to request additional funds right through the app. And you can see on the screen a button you can push on the job page to just request additional funds right through the app. And this is going to do a couple things. It's going to avoid having to make a phone call or deal with maybe sometimes what we've heard is an inconsistent experience over the phone. It'll speed up your process, and there's a couple other benefits. So we're really excited about this opportunity to present this to the network. We've actually been testing this out for the last month and a half, pardon me, and I've seen a lot of success. I've fixed a lot of maybe bugs that we saw originally, and we know it's ready for prime time now. So if we can go to the next screen, I'll talk first about when is this function usable. So this function to request additional funds through the app is usable for most lawn mowing and desertscape jobs. In this first version, it's not available for like mulch jobs or special tree trimming jobs, but most lawn and desertscape. And you'll know because if you push the button and it's not available, you'll get a pop-up like this that'll just say, give us a call. So if it says that, that means it's not available through the app, and you would need to call, and you can just click that button to call, and we can handle your bid like normal. But for most lawn mowing and desertscape, 90%, 99% of the jobs that you have, this will work fine. If you go to the next slide, Matt. It also is only going to work upon launch for when you need additional funds for in-scope items. So as a reminder, in-scope items, in-scope means any task that is listed in the app as needed to be done for that job. So if you were at this job, for example, you could use the request additional funds button for mow blow trim, for kind of mowing or excessive overgrowth for trimming, or a lot of cleanup that you would need to do after the job. But for this particular job, you would not be able to use request additional funds for edging, for example, because edging is not an in-scope job. So it is only usable for in-scope jobs, but we know at this time of the year, there's still quite a few of those that we run into. So we've covered that. Most lawn mowing desertscape jobs, it's available for any time you need additional funds for in-scope items. Let me walk you through what this will look like when you're actually using it. Next slide. So it's pretty simple. So the first step is you just need to take all before photos and press the request additional funds button. You'll notice in the left screen there that the request additional funds button is grayed out, and it will be grayed out until you take all the before photos that are necessary. Once you take all before photos, you'll suddenly be able to press that button. So take all the before photos and you press the button. Next screen. You'll see a screen like this, where you'll fill out the average grass height that you're seeing on the property, and you'll fill out the prices that you need for both the overgrowth and any additional in-scope items. And so sometimes when you enter the height of the grass, we may pre-populate that with a fair price for that overgrowth. Sometimes we'll ask you to fill that out. And then anything else you need. So in this, in scope is edging, grass trimming, mowing, service-related debris. So you can add in the price that you need for additional services that are excessive So if the edging is just out of control and you need some extra money for that, you can add that in there as well. If you don't need anything, if you just need the overgrowth, you can put in $0 for in-scope services. So you'll fill out the average grass height and the pricing that you need. Then next screen, Matt. Then you'll simply leave notes and take any additional photos as needed. Now, the notes, we would ask for kind of as detailed a breakdown as you need of what the additional funds are for. Any additional photos, it's super important that the notes and the photos are very clear as to why you need additional funds and why you need this many additional funds. Once you fill that out, next screen, within seconds, you're going to get a response. And you're going to get one of 3 responses. So on this screen, you can see that this one has additional funds approved. And if you see this screen, we've already added those funds to the job. So from this job, if you press done, you would go back to the job screen and you would actually see the line item of those funds having been added already to the job. So again, within seconds, we'll be able to approve and add additional funds that we can approve right away. Next slide. Let's go one more slide, sorry. Back two slides. There you go. You might see this. If we are unable to add those additional funds right away, then we'll give you a screen like this, letting you know that, hey, we've submitted that request for additional funds to our bid team to start working on right away. This does not mean that your pictures were bad or that you did anything wrong. It just simply means we have to go through a process to talk to the property owner. We have to get approval for that bid. The benefit here, though, is that currently, if we can't approve anything over the phone, we require you to email in those bids, as I'm sure you're aware. You're not going to have to email those bids anymore because we have all the information, we have the pictures and what you wrote down in the app. So if you do this, we've already got everything we need to start working on that bid immediately. So no more emails. And then third is on some occasions, if we're really close and we feel like, hey, we can actually apply some funds right now, we're going to give you a choice and a counter offer. So we'll either say, hey, you asked for $150. We can totally send that bid in. We're okay to do that. But we can also approve, in this example, $95.79 right now. And we'll give you the choice. You can take the $95.79 right now. We'll add it to the job. Or you can say, nope, I'd rather submit a bid and I'll wait for approval on that. And so we give you a choice if we're kind of close in range because it's always better to get some money in hand today. So we'll give you that choice. So that's as simple as it is, guys. You take before pictures, you press the button, you fill out the pricing you want and the height of the grass. You fill out notes and take any additional photos, and then you get a response within seconds. Now, what I do want to say is this, and this is probably the most important slide, is it's super important that the photos and the notes clearly show the need for additional funds. So we have a couple places in this process where we'll remind you of this, that we may deny or change the amount of additional funds if we review the completed job photos and it doesn't match. And the biggest things we've seen are ones where the photos don't show any overgrowth at all, and yet someone asked for $20, right? If that happens, it's pretty clear that there was no overgrowth. So it's up to you guys to kind of make sure those photos really show that the grass is overgrown, that you need that additional funds, that it's not just like one weed sticking up in the middle of the yard. So please ensure that all the photos and notes clearly show the need for the additional funds. Any abuse of this function, definitely unacceptable behavior. And our caveat is that may result in a termination of your relationship with TaskEasy. Now, abuse of this function is not something like, you're requesting $20 over what we think is the fair price. That's not abuse, right? That's just, you're in a different market that maybe we're looking at, right? So that's fine. Well, abuse would be like, hey, you start adding $20 to every single job you go to, whether there's overgrowth or not, right? That type of stuff is what we mean when we say abuse of this function. So please make sure that those photos and notes clearly justify additional funds. We won't nickel and dime you on this. If we're off by 15, 20, $30, that's fine, right? We're okay with that. It's when, we're not seeing the overgrowth that you're seeing. That's the time when we have to go, hey, we can't justify this. So next slide. And then we'll take questions at the end. So make sure you're throwing questions in. You probably already have some, and we'll have some time to answer any questions you have.
Yeah, those are going directly to me, and I'll just read them to Jesse
Sounds
after this is done.
Perfect. So the other thing is that a reminder, this is only for in-scope items, and we will show a screen like this to remind you of that. Now, you could technically say, hey, I want $50 and leave a note saying this is actually for mulching, like an out-of-scope item. And the app doesn't know. The app is going to assume that it's in scope and may approve it. But this is really only for in-scope items, only for those tasks listed in the job. For any out-of-scope items, we'll still ask you to give us a call on those. And that includes like debris on the lawns. So sometimes you go to a lawn and we're not in leaf season right now, but if leaves are covering the lawn, technically those are out of scope. And so we would still want you to call in for those. Hopefully we'll have a V2 of this that will work with leaves by this fall season to make that a little easier. But please don't use this for out of scope items, just for in scope items. And next slide, there's one more caveat for those of you with teams or crews. So you guys probably know, those of you that have, teams that go out and perform jobs with their own logins for the app, that pricing does not show up for team members, right? So as we can see in this picture, you can see kind of the earnings, the insurance deductive, and then the total payout. We know that teams who log in don't have access to see pricing. And just like they don't have access to see pricing, teams or crews will not have access to the request additional funds button. That button will only show up for the main contractor login. And so next slide, Matt. So one of the ways you can bypass that, though we'll look for any ideas you have, talk to your market managers about this, is what we've tested with a couple of bigger guys who have multiple crews, is that they already have a system where their crews are kind of texting them or the main office and going, hey, this is overgrown, take a look at the pictures. And then that main office or the main person calls in. You can still use this function. So if I had multiple crews and my crew member texted me and said, hey, we're overgrown at 543 Main Street, I could actually log into that with a main contractor login. And as long as they took all the before pictures, I can go to that job and I can press request additional funds. Again, that keeps that distance between you and your crews, where a lot of you pay your crews in different ways, and you want to make sure they're not seeing kind of the amount you're requesting for overgrowth. So you can use it that way, though as we continue further, we'd love to hear any thoughts and ideas around this. But this will not be available for teams or crews, just that main contractor login. And then the next slide, before we have questions. So we're hoping to launch this May 22nd, which is Monday. And it may not be right in the morning, but if we trickle in, you'll start to see this button showing up on Monday, May 22nd, and can start using this right away. There's two things that I wanted to say on this slide here. Let me just make sure I'm here. Give me a second. And that is, one thing I wanted to mention is that the app is going to use the same logic that the people on the phone call or your market managers have. So if you would get approved by calling in or talking to your market manager, the app will also approve it. If the app says no, we can't approve it, that would also happen if you called your market manager or you called in. So the logic is the same. What's different is you won't have the back and forth of like going, can you do $20 less? We're going to trust you guys to tell us the correct price for this job, but they use the same logic. Those that have TaskEasy insurance, you may see some insurance. If you go over $70, insurance will be taken out of these additional funds. So if you see a small amount of difference, please reach out if you have questions, but that's most likely insurance being taken out for those that use TaskEasy liability insurance. And then finally, if you see anything off or you have any questions, we're spending the whole next week before we launch training our customer service teams, the market managers, so that if you have any questions or like, I think this is broken, or hey, this doesn't make any sense, they're going to be able to answer those questions. If we do find something broken, we'll be able to kind of get that fixed right away. So we'll be ready to handle your calls or questions about this once we launch on May 22nd. So I will pause there, and I think we can start taking questions, Matt, that I'm sure we've got a bunch of questions already. Happy to answer any questions, but really excited to present this feature because, again, this should be a simpler, faster, easier way to ask for additional funds when it comes to in scope, like those main things like overgrowth, or if you have to trim bushes and there's like 50 bushes instead of just 3, like this is an easier way to funds in a more consistent way than having to stop and call in every time. But I'd love to hear this pause. Matt, any questions that we can answer?
Yeah, let me see. I think that you were maybe very thorough in this because we don't have a ton of questions, but let me just kind of go through and see which ones are relevant to this topic here.
Yeah, and if you don't have questions about this per se, guys, I would love to hear if there's any concerns about this or if you're excited about this, throw that in. We'd love to hear that. We're pretty excited about it. We think it's another step in the process of making things easier and smoother for you, because we know the more time you have boots on the ground and less time calling and waiting, the more money you guys make. So
yeah, so here's one. So Stephen, let's see, Cavallari. Have had some problems with in-app additional funds. When I'm out on the job, I see $25. I'm assuming maybe a pilot, right? I will see $25 has been approved, so I do the job thinking I got paid $50, and I go back to the job later to see completely different addition, like $15 was added.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's something you want to.
I can address that, Stephen. There was a bug there, and if you have any outstanding like this, we will make you whole for those. If you're seeing like maybe $1 difference and you have TaskEasy insurance, like $1.50, that's probably going to be the insurance taken out. But if you're seeing a big range like 25 to 15, that's a bug that we actually released a fix for today. So you will not see that anymore, Stephen, that kind of difference. We jumped on that pretty quickly. But again, please let your market manager know if you're seeing any outstanding of those. We will make you whole on all of those as a thanks. It's the right thing to do because that's why we have pilots, right? Is to see, is anything not working? So, Stephen, that has been fixed, 100% been fixed.
Sweet. Let's see some sentiment. Shay says, that's great. No more emails. Let's see, Stephen had a question about how it works with Teams. And I think maybe you addressed it. He then was asking about the link so that he can send the recording to his office team so that they can watch it.
Yeah, for the link for this, what we're going to do is after this meeting, Matt's going to send me this video. I'm going to upload it to the Contractor Resource Center. And tomorrow, what I'm going to do, or actually tonight, what I'm going to do is we're going to have a new article. So you can send the article that explains even in more detail than what I went through. So it'll answer any questions you have. It'll also have the video on there. So you can send it to your teams or anybody that you have that is currently handling bids. So we'll get market managers, I think, to send that out to you tomorrow. Or you can also look at the Contractor Resource Center tomorrow first thing. We'll have a big thing right at top with in-app additional funds coming soon. And if you click that, you'll be able to see both the article and the video.
Awesome. Jeff just mentioned overgrowth on tape to show tassel. Let's see, grass relief. Each job has different height. Biweeklies in Florida are always overgrown. We normally just raise the deck. I think that's more of a general just comment. I know we have had some customers elect to go biweekly in markets that we definitely advise against that. We're working on that. We know it's painful as much as you do. Well, maybe not because you're out there servicing it, but it's not optimal for sure. Let's see. Yeah, Shay said big feature. Just a quick response to Arizona. Volume should be going. I believe it's next week, weekly. But Daniel will make sure we're getting out to you on that. Steven said, cool, thank you. Some specifics that are mostly related to other things, Jesse, outside of this. So
Okay.
I could go ahead and take those real quick.
Yeah, feel free if there's
and
I'll
you
stay
can
on the
jump
line
in
in
too.
case if anybody has any questions, I'll stay on the line but yeah, let's go ahead to all the other questions for sure.
Sure. All right. Let's see. Juan, I noticed that you guys lowered the price on lawn mowing services. I would like to know the reason why. What happened is we went through an exercise where we were looking at different tiers within our system, as we generally do before a season starts. And most properties, there was an up. This happened. I addressed this on a couple of calls, probably back in January, where we actually increased the property the payout. But then there were some properties. I want to say there were actually about 1,000 properties where there was a slight decrease. Based on some of what we call tiers and proximity and whatnot. And those are usually in bigger cities. So there would be a slight decrease on some properties, but for the most part, that was limited, I believe, to about 1,000 properties. And so we don't want to obviously have to do that, but when we're going back and auditing properties and pricing for customers, we have to make sure that we're getting everything dialed in correct. Let's see. Love the new setup. Vinebrook properties are not concerned apparently with grass clippings because they want every bid without removing clippings. So why not just remove that stipulation from their property? Saves us from making trips for no reason and gets their grass cut the day of scheduling. From what we understand and what we expect, those things are taken care of and removed. So we've gone back and forth with Vinebrook on a couple of things, and part of the value proposition is everything that we automatically have offered. So we could take that for consideration. I don't see our corporate contacts saying that they're fine with not having it, but we can tip that up to our account management team as maybe a suggestion from the field. I think this feature is going to help us to speed up the process. Absolutely. Looks like that's the last question. Let me go ahead and refresh one more. Okay, actually, let's see, James. I have a question regarding QC. I have fast pay, but lately it has been very slow for my task to receive payment. My task sat in QC for Monday till Wednesday night and so on. That's more feedback for us, and we'll make sure we're looking at it, given the features and the expectations that you have around that service. So we should be timely in that and should be within the SLA that we set up and explained when you enrolled. So we'll take that offline and I'll share this with our QC director. All right, let me refresh one more time. Jesse, I'm excited about this. Of course, I'm going to say that I got to be a cheerleader, but we've been talking about this in market even for a few of you guys for the better part of a year, and Jesse's been instrumental in getting this up and moving and making sure that we're catching things and trying to iterate on pieces that you don't that you may experience and just from a feedback standpoint are important to you guys. So Jesse, I appreciate you jumping on the call and helping us out with a demo and breaking this down. I think we'll get some feedback as we go along. You guys share that with your market managers so that we can tip it up. But from there, I'm excited, guys. We'll have another call actually that week that it launches. And so I think we can chat about it then too. I'll bring Jesse back in that call just so we can take that on. And we'll go from there. But looks like that's all we have here. If there are some, Jeff mentioned, let's see, on demand disappeared with the last update, doesn't have any more. That I can sync with my capacity management team and see what's going on. That shouldn't be a problem, Jeff. So let me just circle back with the team and then should have somebody reach out to you, maybe Stephanie. All right, guys. Well, hey, appreciate you joining the call. Jesse said we'll go ahead and get this loaded up, and so Stephen and those of you with teams can go ahead and distribute and share amongst your team so that everybody's caught up. But thank you so much for joining and have a great day.